It's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, Vancouver's best auto service experience, 22-time winners of Best Auto Repair. I love saying that, 22-time winners of Best Auto Repair in Vancouver, as voted by their customers. And we're going to talk about a Toyota SR5 pickup today. How you doing, Bernie?
Doing well. And I love it when you say 22-time winners, too. It's an awesome honor.
So, rear differential replacement. What was happening with this Toyota?
The differential something had seized up in the rear differential. Something had broken. The vehicle was towed into the shop on a flat deck and carefully placed on the ground right in the hoisting position so we could take it apart because it wouldn't roll. Well, we actually did manage to make it move, but made some pretty horrific bangs as we moved it. So, yeah, the rear differential had basically something had blown apart in the rear differential.
So what did you find when you looked inside?
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast, because there's a lot of cool stuff to look at here. So just explain the procedure we'll just look at some pictures and then talk. So there's the inside of the differential. So a little bit on Toyota. So on these particular Toyota pickup trucks, the actual differential assembly is a drop-in type. You can unbolt the whole differential from the housing, which makes, probably makes the repair actually a lot simpler. The axles come out quite easily. And then you just, with, it's probably 10 bolts, you can pop the differential assembly out. So what we found was basically no oil in the differential. A lot of broken bits and pieces inside the differential, and the pinion gear had just completely blown itself apart. So, that's what's kind of fun about working on cars sometimes, is seeing the damage that can happen when things go bad. So this is a better view of the pinion. It doesn't take much of you don't have to know much about cars to know that doesn't look good. But again, looking at the last picture, this is sort of a good side of the gear. That's kind of what the gear looks like when it's in good shape. I heard a little laugh there. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. This is the ring gear. So this is where the pinion gear moves against this gear. And you can see that there's just a number of, the teeth have just been pounded and mashed. I mean, this is really hard metal. I mean, if you hit it with a hammer, you probably couldn't even dent it. So, it's taken a lot of abuse. Again, there's a sort of a further away view. This is one of the bearings. And even the bearings, you can see they're just brown. Everything just got cooked and overheated. And these bearings normally require a puller or a press to take them off of the differential. We were actually able to slide them right off by hand. That's how badly worn everything was. So essentially, there's no oil in the differential. And that's really what kind of caused this whole thing to go bad. Here's a view of the replacement differential. So this is a rebuilt unit that we put into the vehicle. You can see nice, clean teeth. And everything's nice and shiny. And of course, we did put oil in it when we repaired it to make sure it lasts.
So let's dig into this just a little bit. So what does the oil do in the differential first?
So basically, the oil just lubricates the gears and it lubricates the bearings. So the differential is pretty simple. There's 4 bearings. There's one under this cap, one under that cap, and then there's 2 up here, and those are for the pinion bearings. So there's 4 bearings. They obviously need to be lubricated, and then the gears need to be lubricated. So there are 2 obvious gears here, the ring and pinion. But if you look inside this area here, these are the differential gears. I mean, the function of a differential is to transmit the longitudinal movement from the drive shaft out and change the angle of the movement out to the wheels. You also have to have gears to compensate for the different speeds of the wheels. For instance, when you're driving both rear wheels, but as the wheels are turning, and you go around a corner, one wheel is going faster than the other. So there has to be a way to compensate for that. And that's what the differential does. There are gears inside here, and they basically compensate for that different movement. Otherwise, the back end would just hop and bounce. And you can kind of get the feeling of that if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle where it actually locks the 2 differentials. When you go around a curve, things lock up because the wheels won't, the actual transfer case doesn't have a differential in it. So it'll cause the wheels to hop. At least most of them don't. Have a differential in them, so that it'll cause, the wheels to lock up. This is something you can find in like a classic American style pickup truck where you can lock it in 4-wheel drive. A couple other interesting things to show here, actually. You might wonder, well, what the heck is this? If you've never done a differential, what is this yellow? This is like a marking paint. A really important thing with the differential is setting up the ring and pinion gear. They have to mesh a certain way, and you can see a little bit of the paint's kind of marked off here. This is when you put a differential together, you put this marking compound, then you rotate it and you look at the way the gear teeth are meshing together. And from there, you may need to make adjustments. So you can see there's a kind of a contact pattern of the gear. If you don't do it properly, it'll howl and make all sorts of weird noises. And depending on how it's set, it could howl when you accelerate or it could howl when you decelerate. So this is a kind of an important part. And this paint just, washes off and becomes part of the gear oil. It doesn't really create any issue afterwards. But you can see there's a good contact pattern here. And yeah, I think that's it for the picture show.
So how do you think this differential had ended up with no oil?
I really don't know. I mean, I asked the owner, I said, didn't this thing make a lot of noise for a long time? Because it would have been howling away and making a lot of noise. And there was a couple issues. He said, no, I never heard it. I mean, one problem, and it's something we did fix, is the exhaust pipe had come disconnected after the catalytic converter. So the exhaust was very loud. So that would mask some differential noise. And also this vehicle had like very large tires on the back end, all over the vehicle. So again, those tires can tend to be a little noisier also. So I never heard it. I mean, I'm sure that I would have, because my ears kind of trained for that kind of stuff. But how it had no oil, he doesn't know. I mean, maybe someone drained it out and forgot to fill it. I mean, everything was plugged in. There was no evidence of any leaks. Other than one thing I did mention is, as this differential blew up, it actually put a hole in the back cover of the differential housing. So that involved some extra repair. We were able to weld the hole shut, which was a excellent repair, but it was a little more involved than it would have needed to be. But, again, that hole wasn't the reason it leaked out oil, because the oil was already gone before the hole was created. So really don't know. Sometimes a differential will develop like a leak from a pinion seal, and over time it'll spray the oil up, but we couldn't see anywhere that there was any evidence of oil leakage. So really hard to know. I mean, sometimes we run into these mysteries and just can't really quite figure it out. But it'd probably been driven for a while without any oil in it, to cause it to do what it did.
Having experienced this a couple times with two different vehicles, it's really loud when it starts to howl. So it took some work to ignore it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, people turn radios up, and I'm not saying the owner of this vehicle did, but, there was a couple things like loud exhaust that could mask it. And, maybe it just sort of developed over time and go, oh, that's kind of like normal. Anyways, and this is a good reason to, check your fluids regularly on your vehicle. Like, you never know. You think, oh yeah, well, there's nothing leaking out. It's got to be okay. But, who knows what happened? But a simple inspection of the fluid, during an oil change would have been enough to, hey, wait a minute, there's no oil in this unit, or the level is low. Let's top it up or replace it. Say it's a bit of a mystery, but it always makes for some interesting repairs when stuff like that happens.
So how are Toyota pickups for reliability?
Yeah, they're awesome trucks. I mean, they really are. I mean, this vehicle's getting pretty old now. It's a 92. It's approaching 30 years old, but still really reliable. I mean, they're a well-built truck, and you can certainly go off-road and keep going places. I think they're still worth fixing and keeping going.
If you maintain it.
If you maintain it, yeah. Well, changing the differential is all part of the maintenance program, and after we fixed it, the vehicle, ran really well.
So there you go. If you've got a Toyota in Vancouver that you need some looking after, or you just want to maintain your vehicle so it keeps running reliably so you don't have to worry about it, the guys to call, Pawlik Automotive, 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You have to call and book ahead. They're always busy. Check out the website, pawlikautomotive.com. Hundreds of articles on repairs and maintenance of all makes and models of cars. Over 600 articles on there as well. The YouTube channel, Pawlik Auto Repair, hundreds of videos on there. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. Please leave us a review if you're enjoying what we're talking about. And thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you for watching.